for joining us today. This week's Rise and Thrive with EHE Health. My name is Robbie, a senior designer with the Green Thumb, and we have a very special a plant pleasantry treat for you today. We're joined by the plant baby mama herself, Gabby. Hi, Gabby.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be doing this. It's a nice break. It's really nice.
Definitely a nice break from work.
Absolutely great from work because you're a teacher, right? A fourth grade math teacher.
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm a fourth grade math teacher, and like in between my like break time, I always have to touch my plants. I'm always doing something. Like if either I'm like trimming them or even singing to them or anything, I always have to just touch my plants. It gets me a little grounded. Keeps me grounded.
So it's like you're very nourishing and nurturing at heart.
Yes.
Well, thank you again for taking the time today to walk us through some plant 101s.
No problem, of course.
I know that, during those times of quarantine, a lot of people have started gravitating towards indoor plants and, starting off small and then, taking it to the next level like you.
Yes.
So can we share some of those tips today?
Yes, we're gonna definitely share some of those tips. Like you said, Robbie, I was one of the people who like started during quarantine, collecting my plants and becoming the plant baby mama. Because there was almost nothing for us to do other than be in the house and like take care of, I guess, ourselves, but then also plants. Because like taking care of ourselves and our family members are great, but then plants, they just boil up like a whole different realm to my life.
Conversations and nourishing and everything.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. So I see that you have some stuff in front of you. Are we demoing today?
Yes. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna demo because for every plant, I like to call them plants. So plant parent.
Trademark.
Yeah. So every parent or baby mama, baby daddy, whoever you are, you have to repot your plant. And I haven't been that great to this plant and I need to repot it. It is time, it's growing out this pot and it's time to repot. So we're going to show how to repot today. You will need your planter. So it shouldn't be bigger. It shouldn't be that much bigger than the one that it came in, that is in already. It should be like 1 to 2 inches bigger, especially during this time because it's fall and they're going into the dormant season. So they're not growing as often. So make sure your pot is only like 1 inch bigger or 2 than they used to be. So this one is perfect. I see you have a pot there. So we're ready. You're also gonna need your soil. I make my own soil, so it's in a Ziploc bag. If you want recipes, you have to check out my Instagram. But yes, I make my own soil. You can use a troll if you want to. It's like a little hand shovel. I like to use my hands because I always have my gloves with me.
Oh wow, you're prepared.
Yes.
So you can also, I actually just use an old mason jar that I purchased from like the 99-cent store.
Yeah.
For everyone who don't like going out and purchasing new things for something that you're not fully committed to, it's completely understandable, the worries around it. So there are a lot of things around the house that you can use in replacement of a trowel or a replacement of gloves.
Right. You could just use your hands. Honestly, you don't even need a trowel. You just go ahead and use your hands. But I'm gonna use gloves today. Usually I just use my hands. Let me just be honest. But I'm gonna use gloves today. But you can also use like a candle holder or a mason jar. I have my friends, like I repotted with them the other day and they use a candle holder, an old candle, and it was beautiful. And it still smells kind of really good. So what you're gonna do when you first start repotting your plant, you should do it on a day where it has been watered, right? So because you want to be able to like easily pop it out of its old planter, right? Then before we do that,
I have a question. How soon after you bring the plants home do you repot?
So it can be like, it varies. Like I like to wait and see because your plant has been growing in this pot for basically some time since they started growing, right? Since they got propagated from wherever they were before into this, they've been growing here. And if there's no roots popping out crazy from the bottom, from the top, from anywhere, I like to leave it because if they're growing, they're growing. I don't want to disturb it. But if I notice that there are like this plant, right? It's just too small. It's hanging off the pot. It's time for it. It's really time for it to be replanted, and it's not growing as well as it should be because it doesn't have the space for the roots to grow.
Someone
right? So
ready to rise and thrive.
right, yes, it's ready to rise and thrive. Absolutely, yes, it's ready to rise and thrive. So if you see that the plant is growing, keep it in the pot. But if you see it struggling, go ahead and change it.
Got it. So what is there's a word you said, propagating?
Propagate, yes, propagating. What is that?
Yeah, what is that?
So actually, I want to show you right now. I'll be right back. Propagating is.
So I think propagating is,
it's when you take the plant.
Okay.
You have a plant. So you had an old plant. These are some leaves that I had from a plant around here, right? And actually it's from this plant over here. But then I took some leaves because they were all like just dying and like they were all like shriveled up because it just wasn't working out in that plant. So I took it out. It's when you have some plants, you see a little node right there. You see all of the roots coming out. It's when you put it in another vase, a clear vase, anything you can use. I literally use shot glasses or an old vinegar jar, whatever you use that is glass. You can use a mason jar also. You put some water and you put the plant in there. It's when you take an old plant and make it into a new plant. And then your roots should just grow and grow and grow and grow.
So I actually did that then. I'm propagating, guys.
Oh, there you go.
I have a little pilea. I think
yes.
pilea that my neighbor got me. So like, but also, now that you mention it, there's places in the neighborhood that during this quarantine period have started like plant communities, indoor plant communities, where they have a plant grab, we'll say. So people will propagate one of the leaves and set it in a little jar and set it outside on a bench, and then you can go and take one and give one and take one and give one. And it's really I've noticed like the community and people going around, and I follow them on Instagram too. It's a local store. And like people are connecting over it and talking about their plants, and it's really nice.
Yes, and like I've seen a lot of community gardens that we have around the city, and those are becoming more of hot spots. Like I see a lot, like just people going there looking at the garden, right?
Not
and
hot
like,
spots in that sense.
Huh?
And nothing.
Oh yeah, no, not hot spots.
Like sorry, my TV shows directly there.
Yeah, no, not hotspots in the sense that we think about hotspots now, but like actually places to go that people really like, right? It's a little different now that we, the pandemic is happening. But yeah, people go there and it's a space, it's open space, and you can relax there to take in some energy from the plants, like, because all plants, they release all these oxygen, right? And oxygen is really good for us. And so just relaxing by the plants.
Yeah. So like, what are some of the other benefits of plants? So oxygen, obviously we need to breathe.
Yes, they give us oxygen. They filter out some chemicals, like some filter out formaldehyde, which is like not good for us. It gives us irritants in our eyes and our nose. So any irritants that we have, certain plants like the prayer plant. The prayer plant is one of the plants that are air filtering plants. Another plant that is an air filtering plant that will help you also sleep is the snake plant. The snake plant is also another air filtering plant. I love this plant.
And I heard those are really easy to maintain, right?
Yes. This is actually one of the first plants that I got as a plant baby mama.
Oh, look at that connection.
Yes, because it was an easier plant for me to use.
So it's easy to maintain. Like, is this one that doesn't need a lot of light or watering? What are some easy maintenance plants that you would recommend for a lot of first-time plant owners?
So some easy maintenance plants, I would definitely choose the snake plant. The snake plant, I think I water this bad boy maybe once a month, and that's during the growing season,
Wow.
right? So like it just like it didn't look like this in the beginning. It's been popping out everywhere, but yes, I water her like once a month. But in the winter and the fall, I don't have to water her as often. I can water her maybe once every month and a half. It's just a very drought resistant plant. So like if you're not great at keeping up with watering schedules, this will grow no matter what. Another plant that's really good is the plea that you have. That's an also really easy plant to grow. It's called the friendship plant because it just grows. Like it doesn't even need, you can blow at it and it's like, okay, 5 more, like, 5 more new leaves sprouting. And yes, like right now it's growing. If you can see, you have all these little, it's just growing everywhere. It just grows and grows and grows. Another plant that's really easy for you is the peace lily. It's also great for clearing the air. The peace lily is sometimes a little dramatic when it needs water, but that's how you know it needs water. So that's how it's really good. That's why it's really great for new parents, right? So yeah, so those are some plants that you can, if you're a new plant parent, you should definitely try out.
Would be the snake plant. Is a good starter plant. The peace lily is a really good starter plant. Hylia friendship plant. Also, those are some really good, 3 really good ones to start with.
Yeah. Monstera, actually the one that's right here behind me, my big mama. I call her Big Mama because she's just sprouting everywhere. The Monstera is a plant that if you are a parent, you see this all the time. People love Monsteras and it's easy. It's a low light plant also. So it can grow in places that don't get that much sun, which is right now during the fall and winter, we don't get that much sun, right? So this one is an easy plant for you and it's also low light. So it's like a win-win.
So back to the potting.
Yes.
What have we done so far?
So right now I put about an inch of soil at the bottom, an inch or more, just so you can have a foundation for the roots to kind of stick to. I also unpotted her from her old plant and put a little bit, look at all her long roots. Put a little bit of her old soil in here. You don't really have to do this. This is just a step that I do because if it has a lot, like she has a lot of soil around her root ball, I want to keep it intact.
So those roots are really long. What about this when you're propagating? How do you know when those roots are ready?
So right now, I can actually take this plant out and plant it right now. It's ready. It just depends on what you want, like how you feel. If you want more roots, then you keep it in here a little bit longer. But usually when you see roots that are, like this long, maybe even shorter than this, I propagated a plant that even has a little bit less than this, maybe these many roots or a couple of roots. It doesn't, as long as you see like 2 or 3 roots, it's ready to pot. It's ready to be potted into its new home. Yes. Yes. Is it ready?
Yeah, this guy's ready.
Yes. So you can really repot that today if you wanted to.
I clearly on pots.
So right now, what we're gonna do with this new plant, we put it in. I'm gonna kind of make sure the roots are towards the bottom. You can either cut these roots off because you see how long it is. I can cut these roots and it'll be fine for the plant. The plant won't. It won't affect the plant at all. I'm just cutting it a little bit so so it has more space.
It's sort of like a little trim.
Yeah, we can put it in here. And then what you want to do is you want to just make sure you're filling in soil around the plant. And you want to make sure you're kind of pressing the soil down a little bit, not too much, because you want to create it you don't want it to be too solid so water can't fully flow freely. But you do want to press a little bit so the roots can start to drive together.
You don't want to pack it in because the water needs to get to the bottom.
Right. You just want to gently place some in here. So sometimes using your hand is a little bit better than using a troll.
Put in there, right, for your plants. There's a question that came in, speaking of water, how do you approach draining? So I've
drain.
heard of root rot. You know, I've experienced root rot, and it's just travesty.
Same.
I find rocks at the bottom.
Mhm.
I have holes at the bottom of some. Others, I have like a mesh wire. What are some of your tips around watering?
So my first tip around watering is get a pot that has a drainage hole. That you can also make your own drainage hole if you can at home, but get a pot that has a drainage hole. And if you don't have a pot that has a drainage hole, it's okay. You can use rocks, like Robbie said. Rocks are good. But the type of rock you want to get is a volcanic rock, right? Because the volcanic lava rocks, they're used to sucking up moisture, right? It only sucks up moisture and it kind of lets the moisture go a little bit when the plant needs it. So volcanic rocks, which I put in my mix of soil, is a really, really good thing to have at the bottom.
And where can you get volcanic rocks? Is this something
You can get volcanic rocks online on Amazon. You can go to a Lowe's, Home Depot, the places like that where they sell gardening tools or gardening little, accessories. They'll probably have volcanic rock there, and it's called horticultural, volcanic rock, and you'll see it.
Horticultural volcanic rocks? Whoa.
Yes.
Okay. So make sure that the pots have drains. If they do not have drains, which is okay in some cases, you should definitely use volcanic rocks. But the main thing is to make sure that the water doesn't just sit at the bottom, right?
Yes, that's the main thing. You want to make sure the water is not sitting at the bottom of the plant because that's how you get root rot, like you said. And if you don't have if you don't have a drainage hole, I would err on watering a little bit less, right? Because we can't see, because usually plant parents are always told to water until you see the water come out as drainage hole at the bottom. But if you don't have a drainage hole, you can't tell. So if you think I would water a lot less than I would just kind of water it a little bit and then see if it needs more, check the soil maybe the next day. And if it needs more, continue to water it. And then eventually you'll figure out how much water your plant needs.
Okay. So is it more, I'm not say important, but to over or underwater a plant? Because
I think, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think underwatering is the best.
Okay.
Because at least if you underwater, you can tell the leaves will start to yellow on the tips. Okay. You can tell if it's underwater, but that also is really tricky because it's also a sign of overwatering. But if you know that you don't overwater, right? So if you know you don't overwater and you see like your tips are getting a little bit, yellow, you're like, okay, I'm doing a little bit too much. I'm doing a little bit too less of watering. Let me water it a little bit more.
Okay, but don't go full out overwater and do buckets and buckets. So just
right
little by little, wait a day, wait for two, fill the soil. It's okay, touch it, get in there. And if it's dry, then go ahead and add a little bit more water.
Right, just add a little bit more.
Yeah. So I think that, one of the things about plants is starting small, right? You don't have to go and get huge monsteras or huge, birds of paradise or palms, but starting small with the easy ones, the snake plants, the peace lily or the pilea or the prayer plants.
I would definitely start small because this one doesn't want to stay up. More soil. I would definitely start small because then, you can really get to know the plant. Then you really see how it grows. You can tell like when it needs more water or maybe when it needs more sun, right? With the bigger plants, you're like, oh, you're big and beautiful. You're already okay, right? You're like, it's like kind of like a mind trick. You're like, everything is fine. But then when you see the smaller plants, you're like, oh, wait. Like even with this plant, I'm like, oh, wait, I need to cut this off because it needs to go here. A little bit
more tender loving care, yes.
Yes, they need a little bit more tender loving care. I would say that, definitely.
So I also have another question about plants and animals. So I've also seen or heard, that there are some plants that are dangerous to animals. I also have, I have friends who have dogs and cats, and their dogs and cats just try to eat the plants. So
yes,
that's not good. What are some tips? Like, what are some plants that are dangerous for animals? And then how can you prevent the dogs and cats, the animals, from eating the plants?
So there are some plants that I have. Most of my plants are great for animals because I have a dog. And my dog, his name is Bennett. My dog likes to eat plants sometimes, right? So plants that I know that he can kind of nibble on. We don't want them to really nibble on anything, but that he can kind of nibble on without, getting any poisonous or anything like that. He can do, I have the pollard palm. So the pollard palm right now, I have right here. The pollard palm is a great plant. Yes, it's a great plant for dogs and animals. It's non-toxic to them. I got this list off of ASPCA. So I would also check the plants just even to make sure, because you never know, right? So So the palm plant, the pollard palm is one plant that's really good for animals. The rattlesnake plant is also really, really good for it's non-toxic to animals. The plea that you have is also non-toxic, also very pet friendly. Yes. The spider plant you have, also very, very, very plant friendly. Yes.
Great.
There you go, pet friendly. Calatheas of all types. So this is kind of like a calathea player plant, but calathea right here, also pet friendly. Yes. So and a bunch of ferns, There's a whole bunch of ferns, varieties that are super, super pet friendly.
But the ASPCA's website has an exhaustive list of
yes
that they recommend not having.
Yes, they do.
That makes sense. Perfect. Which is terrible. What about preventing? How do you prevent your little pup from eating the plants?
So what I've done is I spray vinegar on the plants, which is it's a double whammy, because the vinegar helps with fungus gnats, which is what I'm dealing with, and I'm pretty sure a lot of plant parents are battling with right now. So fungus gnats don't like it, and pets don't like that you put vinegar on the plant. So as soon as Bennett smells the vinegar on the plant, he's like, forget it. I was gonna eat it, but forget it, I'm okay.
That's not good. So you just put it in the water bottle, and you'll a mister, right?
Right. Your little mister, you just spray it everywhere.
That's fun. That's good. So I have another question. This is an advanced question on staghorn fern. For how do you take care of the mounted ones? So if I'm picturing this, these are the ones that you can mount on the wall, right? And they just hang on the wall. How are those?
So what you can do is just spray, because usually they put sagan moss around it. So you can just spray the moss around it, and that's how it keeps moist. But you would have to check it because it's on the wall, and it probably gets a lot of more air circulation than other plants. You probably have to just check it a little bit more than you would on your other plants, because it's just getting a misting and not like a full watering.
Got it. So make sure also when you mist it to have that mist, the water bottle, different from the vinegar bottle. So
yes. Make sure it's different. Yes. You're gonna have different water bottles for different things.
So where are we right now with the repotting?
So the repotting right here, it's all repotted. She's just a little falling apart right now because I need to get some chopsticks. So if you ever have chopsticks, is a really good plant tool. Okay, you get some chopsticks. Let me move this away. You get some chopsticks and you pop it in here. And if you have I have some gardening tape that I use. You can get gardening tape and you can attach it to your chopstick and it'll grow straight up.
Oh, that's perfect. And it'll help. So what's the difference between gardening tape and regular tape?
Gardening tape it's a lot less sticky. It's kind of more like it's more smooth, and you kind of just it's like you tie it around it, and it will grow. It will move. It will expand with the plant, so you never have to retie it, right? Because to see like the plant is growing, no, it will grow with the plant.
Oh, cool! Super convenient. You don't have to go and check in on it all the time.
Right.
So we have that plant repotted.
Yeah, so the plant's repotted. I'm gonna get the tape, which is I'll do off camera. And I'm going to pot this. Actually, when you're done repotting it, you should always water it. Always water it. So I'm gonna water. Yes, I'm gonna water. I have my water kit, or my
canister.
I can't even speak right now. Yes, my canister. I have my canister, or you can just use a 1 liter bottle, because this is what I was using before. You can use a 1 liter bottle. I like to put my water in a 1 liter bottle before, so all of the impurities and all hard salts in the water can evaporate overnight. So that's a really good tip. Put your water out, leave it out overnight, and all the salts will evaporate. And so you'll have like a kind of distilled water, and it's better. It's a little bit softer on your plant.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
So you leave the lid off, I'm assuming.
Yes, you leave the lid off, yes. And then I always put Super Thrive in my water. Okay. Super Thrive is a vitamin that I use. And my plants love it. I can't tell you enough how much they love it. You put a drop per cup, right? So I'm only gonna put 1 drop in here, and it's not a fertilizer, it's just a vitamin, because we're laying off fertilizer right now. Okay. During the growing months, and you water your plant.
Look at that.
Yeah. And it's all done and ready to go.
How are you gonna maintain that in the winter months?
I'm going to maintain that by putting it away from drafts, making sure it's not by a window where it could be drafty, or if you have a window that's super insulated, you can put it by the window. Making sure it's not by any vents, heater vents, because I've already had a tragedy with one of my plants by the heater, because they can't take that drastic change in temperature. I'm also going to make sure that I'm cleaning the leaves so it can get more, so it can have a cleaner surface for photosynthesis, so I can get all their little nutrients.
Makes sense. Also dust, right? Because dust is a huge allergen, and now that we're indoors for the winter months, we need to make sure that we have the cleanest air possible.
Right. So you want to do that for you and your plants. It's like a double whammy. And what else am I going to do? I'm also going to make sure that I'm not watering it too much, right? They're not getting as much intense sun as they would be in the summer or spring months, because we know the sun is not as intense in the fall and winter. And they don't need to be watered as often. So like, I know we want to water our plants. We're like, you need water. But give it a break, let them relax a little bit, let them rest, and only use it when you only give them water when you put your finger inside the plant. And there's like 2 inches, you go down 2 inches. And if it's dry, it's time to water. If it's wet, like this one, you'll see on my finger, I have all this soil. It is still wet. You don't need to dry it. You don't need to water it. Huh?
I said, those bees are dry. I'll definitely give these nice watering afterwards.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was really super helpful. A little recap, like some of the good starter plants are the snake plants.
Yes, absolutely. The snake plant, the monstera, the peace lily, the alganema. I didn't say that before, but alganema is good. That's the playa, the friendship plant. It's super, super easy to start with. And the spider plant.
If you have friends, you could propagate it. Take a piece off and give it to a friend for Thanksgiving.
Right.
All these plants at your local plant shop, hardware store, even online if you can't find any places, right?
Right.
You steer clear from the lists from ASPCA for pet-friendly plants. If you have any little critters running around, you want to make sure to consult that list.
Mm-hmm.
And what some of the biggest plants for oxygen, what were those again?
So some plants, the peace lily also is a plant for oxygen. The prayer plant, another plant for oxygen, the snake plant, and the spider plant.
Perfect.
It's not an exhaustive list, but some plants to get you going.
Those would be really good, especially again because we're indoors and we want that clean air, that filtered air, and having them around will help you sleep, calm, nourishing, and all those good things.
All the amazing things that plants give us.
Then when we get a new plant, we can repot it. make sure that the soil's snug, but right, not compacted in there.
Right. And
Uh,
make sure that make sure you're filling it up to the top, maybe not too much because you might have to add some soil later. And to make maybe like an inch, up until the top inch. So I always leave an inch of room of space.
oh
for my
yeah,
plant.
so the water doesn't overflow. A lot of
Right.
so if anyone has any questions, how can they reach out to you and ask? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, also on Facebook, both The Plant Baby Mama. Yeah, and you can reach out to me. I'm always ready to give tips and to help out.
Well, definitely, I'll be reaching out. I'll be sending you some success stories and some help tips for sure.
I can't wait.
Thank you for taking the time. I know that you're in between, this is your lunch break maybe?
Yes.
Wow, we really appreciate you taking the time and also for being a teacher to these fourth graders too.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for tuning in to this week's Rise and Thrive. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook for more. Also follow Gabby again at the Plant Baby Mama for tips, for questions. By all means, reach out. Make sure to tune in next week as well. We have a special episode for you.